This week on the Destination Angler.
When it is hard overcast and murky, muddy water, those trout act like it's nighttime and therefore are not afraid that a raptor bird is going to come pluck them out of the stream, and they get drunk. It is last call at the bar.
Welcome to the Destination Angler Podcast, the podcast for anglers who travel. And I'm your host, Steve Haigh. We go right to the source, the local guides and experts, to build your knowledge of top fishing locations around North America. It's a big world out there. Now go and fish it.
I'm going away for a while, but I'll be back soon. Whoa, whoa.
Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button to get all the latest episodes of The Destination Angler. And man, do we have some incredible shows coming your way. How about the lakes of Central Oregon, Craig, Montana, and the Missouri River, and Spring Creek with the one and only Joe Humphreys. Joe is a living legend in the fly fishing world and is even featured in the documentary film called Live the Stream. And be sure to backcast to catch our latest episode on Slough Creek in Yellowstone National Park. Slough Creek is hallowed ground for the serious fly angler, and for good reason. Our guest, Max Yuzagiri, owner of Montana Angling Company, does a great job giving us the lowdown on Slough Creek from top to bottom, including top flies, which meadows to fish when, and why a downstream presentation is a must. You can join in the conversation on Instagram and Facebook, where we post pictures of the destinations we feature and top fly patterns recommended by our guides and experts. The Destination Angler podcast is growing by leaps and bounds thanks to all of you. We have listeners in every state and many countries around the world. We recently hit a major milestone and now have 2,000 followers on Instagram. So before we jump into our main event today, I thought it'd be fun to bring our listener number 2,000, a great guy named Joe Cattle, onto the show. We hear about fishing destinations in other parts of the world. So here we go. Hey, thanks for making time to be on the show. Like I was saying, your Instagram follower number 2,000. So I don't know if that's good or bad for you, but congratulations.
Well, if you put out some more interesting podcasts like the last one with the Bahamas man, then I'm very interested.
Good to hear it. Where are you from, Joe? It sounds like with that accent, you might be from overseas somewhere, like the UK?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm based in Essex, just outside London.
That's outside of London. Okay. Is that where you're from originally?
Yeah, I've been here all my life.
Okay, good. So what kind of fishing do you do over there?
Well, with Europe and England, and that is mad keen on carp fishing.
Carp fishing. Okay.
That's my main sort of fishing over here. Yeah, carp is the main popular species in the country, and I've been doing that since I was a boy. So for nearly 40 years or so, I've been doing that.
Wow. And I noticed on your Instagram page that you tend to go somewhere south and fish for some permit, snook, those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's my real passion is fly fishing the flats for the bonefish permit and tarpon, snook and barracudas and the jacks and all the nice saltwater stuff in the warm climate.
Yeah, where do you go for that?
All over, really. Mexico, I've been going quite a lot because it's wife friendly there, so we can go to a nice hotel and I can sneak off for a couple of days here and there. When I go with my friend as a full holiday, it's been Cuba quite a lot, and I had a big one a couple of years ago to the Seychelles, to Providence Atoll. Yeah, that was the once in a lifetime experience. That was fantastic for the giant trevally, the GT.
Yeah, sure.
It's hellishly expensive, and I don't think I'll be able to ever afford to do it again. But it was worth it. It was an experience. Yeah.
Did you take a wife along on that one?
No, that was a purely a boys' getaway. That was, yeah. It was it's a livable boat and a hell of a journey to get there, and real on the edge fishing once you're there. It's fantastic. A lot of wade fishing and stuff.
Okay, yeah. What's it like to hook a giant trevally?
I guess it's like hooking a truck, really. If you if you stand outside your road and wait for an F-150 to go past, cast and hook his bumper, then that would be a pretty good description of hooking a GT. Yeah, they're unbelievable.
And what do? They just take off on a screeching run?
They do, but you hang on to them big time. If you let them go, they're going to get you off and cut you off into to the reef and the coral heads and that there. So you really hang on to them hard, and you're not fishing light fly lines or line class type fly stuff. It's 150-pound leaders, and you don't really bend into them. You sort of straight rod them and stop them. So it's amazing. Yeah, you're not prepared for it. They tell you about it, but you're not prepared until you actually do it, and then it's fireworks. It's really good.
Wow, hang on for dear life.
Yes, yeah.
How's the fishing in Cuba?
It's good. On where we go to the Jardins de la Reina, which is it's a national park, so it's well protected. And the fishing there, when I first went there, which would be for my 40th birthday back in 2003, it was a relatively young fishery then. And since then, it's improved. I've been there probably 6 times now. It's improved with the tarpon and the permit and stuff over and over, because it is a really well-run area. The other places I go are not so much. Like Cayo Coco is another area I go, which is a hotel-based holiday, which I can go with my wife. And that area does get a little bit fished, like commercially and stuff, so it's not quite as prolific. It's still good, but not as good as the Jardins de la Reina.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, now take me back to the UK and carp fishing. So how are you going after carp?
Well, we bait fish. We fish with, they call them boilies here. You'd call them dough balls, but they're all special mixes with flavours and different various high protein ingredients. And you bait up a lot and train the fish to like that bait, and you catch the fish, and it's all catch and release, and that we treat them like babies, so they go back. I've actually got fish that are still being caught now that was caught in 1980. They're 50 plus years old, and there's quite a few in the country. Yeah, they've been documented over the years, so they're revered. And because they've been caught a few times, they get a bit cagey, and they're not so easy to trip up.
I'll bet. So you just put something really stinky on the end of the hook, huh? And they come in and take it.
Some are really stinky. Some are quite fruity and nice. Little strawberry flavour is a very good flavour and stuff like that. They like that. And they love the sweet corn and maize and stuff. So there's lots of different ways of catching them. How
big is a 50-year-old carp?
The record in England is in the 60-pound sort of mark now, but on Europe, they go to over 100 pounds. They've gone to now, which is absolutely huge, isn't it, for a carp? Sometimes, like some of the oldest carp have been registered at sort of 26 pound in the mid-50s, and getting caught in the mid-90s, still 26 pounds. So,
wow.
There are various strains and sizes of that. So it's interesting.
Okay. That's great. I grew up carp fishing when I was a real little kid. And
oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. And, they're big fish, right? So as a little kid, you've got like a 6-7 pound carp in the line. It'll get your attention.
Yeah, they don't, they're not revered so much in America, are they, the carp? But they're getting more popular now, especially on the fly.
Yeah, right. You ever tried it on the fly?
Not carp, no. We fish with floating dog biscuits, and sometimes we put them on an artificial one of them on the fly rod, and you get them like that.
There you go. Well, a floating dog biscuit. Boy, I haven't tried that one before. That sounds like a good idea, though.
Well, they love them. If you've got them around and you can feed them up and train them to eat them, it's great sport.
Well, Joe, thanks for taking a few minutes to be on the show. And I wish you all the success in the world in your fishing adventures and in life.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Keep putting the podcast out there, and I'll look out for the next one.
That sounds good. And today, our destination is Penn's Creek in central Pennsylvania. And our guests are Jonas Price, owner, and Matt Kowalchuk, head guide of the Feathered Hook in Coburn, PA. Central Pennsylvania is home to some of the finest limestone trout streams in America. Names like the Little Juniata, Big Fishing Creek, Spring Creek, Spruce Creek, and Big Spring Creek are hollow ground for the serious fly angler. And Penn's Creek is the granddaddy of them all. With hatches of biblical proportions and highly educated fish, Penn's Creek will challenge and reward the best of anglers. A little bit about Jonas and Matt. Jonas is a Seattle transplant and has been fishing the waters of central Pennsylvania and running his fly shop for the past 23 years. Which started as an excuse to be a professional trout bum has turned into a lifetime passion for Jonas. But I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that in the show. Matt is a central Pennsylvania native, having hunted, fished, and trapped this area since he was a kid. At age 15, he joined the USA Youth Fly Fishing Team and even competed in the 2007 Youth World Fly Fishing Championship. Jonas and Matt are here to dial us in to this masterclass stream called Penn's Creek that should be on every serious angler's bucket list. Well, hey guys, great to have you on. Welcome to the show, Jonas and Matt.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Steve. Thanks.
Yeah, listen. So, Jonas, you've been down in Texas for a little while doing some fishing. How's that going?
Well, I can't complain. There's no winter down here. As they got probably more than 25 inches of snow at home since I've left, I haven't had to shovel once. So far, so good.
Yeah, and I heard you had a pretty good day today with some largemouth, huh?
Yeah, today was a good day. I hammered some good fish.
Nice. Good. And Matt, what have you been up to?
I've been working on the renovations at our new lodge just up the road from our current operation. Putting in a couple bathrooms.
Oh, very good. That's a really old farmhouse. Is that right?
It is. It's from about somewhere in the late 1700s. Real cool old building.
Cool. All right. That's going to be your new lodge there on Penn's Creek, huh?
Yeah, it's actually just up the creek on Pine Creek, one of the tributaries to Penn.
Oh, on Pine Creek.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. I look forward to checking that out.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, before just get ready for the show here, I went online and found some descriptions of Penn's Creek. I've been there, but I thought, let's see what I can find here. Here's some words that I found to describe Penn's Creek. Legendary, crown jewel, complex, finicky, special, technical, frustrating, rewarding. So what do you guys think? Is that a good list? Did I leave anything out?
Well, I definitely think that leaves some things out. Yeah, fickle is a good one. Also, I would say that, I don't know what the word is for this, but it's probably not as hard as its reputation presents, but a lot of anglers are pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, it keeps you guys in business, right? They need guides.
Well, they need guides and they need good information. And I think one of the main things that we all forget in this world of stock trout is how different a stock trout is from a wild trout, and a wild trout is instinctively much harder to catch, I think, than a wild trout, but, it's proved definitely not impossible.
Okay. And so Penn's Creek is full of wild trout in your area. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's the longest spring-fed limestone stream in the state of Pennsylvania. It's 65 miles long. It does have some areas that still receive stocking, but the primary 18 miles that we fish predominantly are all wild fish.
Yeah. So say more about, what makes Penn's Creek so special.
So the thing that sets Penn's Creek apart from all the other streams in the area is its massive hatches. It has a high density of fish, about 3,400 fish per mile, but it's not the highest. Spring Creek, about a half an hour from us, has the highest density of wild fish in the state at just over 4,000. It has good sized fish and a good average sized fish. The state says that average is at about 14 inches, but the hatches are absolutely spectacular.
Oh, wow.
Jonas, one thing that may be worth noting in everything that you're saying is downstream from Elk Creek, Pine Creek, because there is a good fishery above that's, less talked about, but just the influence there.
The influence of Elk Creek and Pine Creek?
Yeah, making Penn's Creek even better, because Penn's Creek is a great stream, but then you throw those two in the mix and it's like kaboom.
So it's not referred to this way on any map, but there's 9 miles from where it comes out of the cave before it gets to Coburn. And we refer to that as Little Penn's Creek, right? And then after Elk and Pine Creek come in, it increases in volume by about 40%. And the nutrient boost it receives from Elk and Pine Creek is also dramatic. Even though it's a spring-fed limestone stream, it gets a big shot of cold water, and it gets a big shot of nutrients from those, much smaller, shorter, I should say, spring-fed limestone streams. And from there down is really the area that, when people talk about Penn's Creek, that's the area that I'm referring to. And so Matt's absolutely right. That's Penn's in all its glory.
I see. And that's Class A wild trout waters, according to the state, correct?
Correct. From where Elk and Pine Creek come in down for the next 18 miles.
And that's right, just a little bit outside of Coburn, right?
Oh, 300. It's in Coburn, 300 yards downstream from the shop.
Okay. You guys are right on it there. And there's a catch and release section too. Is that right?
Yes, there is 11 miles of catch and release water that starts at the bottom of Pope Hattie State Park and stretches all the way down through the town of Weichert.
Okay. While we're on the topic here, let's talk a little bit more about the character of the water. So you say it comes out of a cave, right? Because it's a spring creek, right?
Correct.
And so technically it's a spring creek, but some say it fishes a lot like a freestone creek. Would you agree?
I think it has a lot of freestone characteristics. It looks like a freestone stream. Matt, you want to get in on that?
No, it looks like a freestone, float temps of a limestone.
Yeah, bug life of a limestone,
Bug
behavior of a freestone. Yeah.
More temperamental than the other local limestone.
Sure.
Okay. And you say temperamental. What do you mean by that?
By rain, influenced by rainfall, precipitation.
Okay.
Like freestones are, super bounced depending on what rain does. Like Penn Creek is very, like if it rains a little bit in the valley, you can see that to some extent through Penn Creek or the tributaries dumping into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It drains a gigantic area too. It drains like 48,000 square acres or something like that. And it has a lot of tributaries and a lot of forest runoff that comes down into it that both directly affect the aquifer that feeds it as well as directly into the stream.
Okay. And what is it about limestone that does it just create great habitat? Does it help for bug life? What is it about limestone?
Fabulous question, Steve. The answer is pH balance. And so the critical issue with limestone is that it is nature's perfect trout water purifier. This is demonstrated by the state of Pennsylvania, actually. We have had a lot of streams more on the Pittsburgh side that had a lot of acid mine drainage runoff and had become non-inhabitable. And the way they solved that is they literally dumped truckloads of limestone rock into the upper parts of the stream. And then that water filters through the limestone. And most of those streams now hold trout again.
Over there by Pittsburgh, you say?
Yeah, in the general Pittsburgh direction from us.
Okay. And that cleaned them up.
Yeah, that's literally all it took. The state had tried many, many different efforts to try to clean up those streams, and dumping limestone in fixed them.
Okay.
We just happened to sit on a geological anomaly of limestone outcroppings that all the water comes through the aquifer to the streams of.
Oh, that's nice. Can you say a little bit about, what's the character of the stream, down from Coburn, right, through that real special area? Like, how wadeable is it? What kind of cover is there? Maybe, how wide is it? What's the flows? Give us a sense of that if you could.
It is the worst wading stream I've ever been on. I started carrying a wading staff there at 27. The reason why is there's essentially, at least in the upper stretch of it, no gravel. It looks like people took 1960s televisions and just broke them into two pieces and strewn them about. It is just rocks.
It's rocky,
super rocky. And that creates, of course, fantastic bug and trout habitat. It's a riffle run pool kind of stream. If you don't like the water you're in, walk up or downstream 200 yards. It will be totally different.
Ah, cool.
And it's funny because certain areas, I'm sure Matt has his favorites. I also have my favorites, but I think of them like playgrounds, where it is just dramatically more rocky, or a big pool with great cover and structure at the bottom. It is a fairly wide stream ranging from 60 to 100 feet wide. It has good riparian vegetation on both sides, but doesn't have a ton of overhanging trees. You can almost always find somewhere to go cast. You don't have to make a tunnel cast up through the middle of 40 different trees. Matt could probably speak to its characteristics better than I could.
That's all, I think, very accurate. Jonas nailed it. The thing that really clicked, if you haven't been there, is the TVs broken in half, third into the stream. If you remove the water, I mean, or you come look at it in low flows, that's exactly what it looks like. It's miserable to wade through. I'm 30 now, and I still am not using a staff, but I can't imagine it'll be many more years.
And we require all of our guided customers to carry one.
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, enough people have fallen. It's just, we tell them, if you don't need it, you don't need it. It's on your belt in a holster. But if you need it, it's a third leg. And not everybody, but you always end up with, one of those folks like, oh, I don't need that. And then 3/4 of the way or halfway through the day, or maybe an hour into the day, you've got them out in a ripple and it's like, okay, I want to go back to the bank and move up a ways. And they're like, oh, I can't turn around. Or how did this boulder get between my legs? Because when you're fishing, you make 10 casts and you take a step. Wading is not just A to B, it's fishing and moving, right? And when you do that on Penn's Creek, because of the nature of it, where you're at, and just the beauty and the scenery, you really tend to lose yourself. And next thing you know, you are standing in the middle of the stream, and you do have a boulder between your legs, and there's a boulder in front of you, and there's a white cap coming off of that, and you're like, well, how do I turn around? The flow's at 750. I don't want to say it's dangerous, but you definitely need to wade with caution. It's made me realize the dangers of water, in situations that I could have bet in, but it's all manageable. It's all definitely manageable. And I think that's one of the things that scares people. I can tell you why. I grew up a little over an hour from Penn's Creek, and I didn't fish it for 20 years almost, because it was, like Jonas said, what people hear about it. It's such a hard stream. It's intimidating. I think the most intimidating thing is wading. It runs with what we call Penn's Creek green, the limestone color. You can't always see the bottom, which is good. That plays to the benefit of the angler, and you can get a lot closer to the fish. But what that does is that scares anglers, because if they can't see the bottom, they're not comfortable wading. And then you throw a spring shower in there, and the creek bumps 100 CFS maybe, but she took a little bit of color, and that phone's just ringing off the hook. Is Penn's blown out? Is it fishable? Why are you calling? You should already be here fishing, because it's fishing lights out banner, but they're too scared because they can't see what's in front of them.
That's a great point. That is a great point, Matt, because one of the misunderstandings of a lot of people is that because they're used to a freestone stream that runs clear, right? If Penn's Creek is clear, we're in a drought, right? If you could see to the bottom in 4 feet of water, we're in a drought.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when Penn's Creek gets really hard, right? If you can see the bottom and the fish can see you, Penn's Creek deserves all of those description words you used. On a normal flow, under normal conditions, Penn's Creek fishes like a difficult but not by any means impossible stream.
Fish want to eat. They're there to eat, and there's stuff to eat.
I want to use the term biological imperative.
Yeah.
They got to eat it.
Yeah.
But people get really scared when it runs with color. But that's a misunderstanding. Those fish live in that environment 365 days a year. If 250 of those days have stained water or more, they still have to eat. The analogy, if I remember correctly, you live in Indianapolis.
I do.
Okay. So it snows in Indianapolis. You don't eat food during that time when it snows? Of course you eat food during that time when it snows. Just like these fish are perfectly prepared to eat food, biologically, evolutionarily prepared to eat food when the water is off color. They have to.
No matter what.
Right.
So, Jonas, let me ask you, if it's such difficult waiting, why are people calling the shop and saying, hey, is it blown out? I want to come out there. Can I come fish? What is it about Penn's Creek then? If it's the waiting so tough, there's something else that brings them in. What is it?
Well, I'm obviously completely biased, so let's state that up front. But Penn's Creek is a magical place, your group that came originally to the shop goes all over the country, if I remember correctly, to fishing destinations.
Yeah.
There is something about Penn's Creek that either you love her and you want to come see her as often as your life allows you to do so, or she was so difficult you never want anything to do with that kind of hard fishing again. And there are different kinds of fishermen out there. You listed a series of streams in your intro, some of which are much easier. Spring Creek, the Little Juniata, Spruce Creek, right? Spruce Creek is a managed fishery that is, I don't want to call it easy because it's not easy. I've been there, but is a much easier environment, right? Spring Creek, which is a wild fishery, is a much easier environment, both for wading reasons and for fish catching reasons, right? But every fish I catch on Penns Creek, I feel like I know that I did everything right for that drift. And that sets her apart for me from a lot of the other streams that I've been to. I grew up out west. The wading in the Henry's Fork was so hard I didn't have wading shoes. I just used old sneakers. And it was so simple to catch fish there that it was wonderful and enjoyable, and I go back there, right? But Penns Creek is a special place where people come back for their multi-generational family experiences. It's wild. It's in the middle of the woods, right? In the middle of a tiny town of 250 people. It's reasonably close to major cities, but not really close to any major cities. The closest, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are both about 3 hours away. But the number of people over my career who have come in who started fishing there with their grandfather, whatever generation that was, that started fishing there with their grandfather, and then bring their kids there. That's the kind of fishery it is.
People must like the challenge then of Penns Creek to some extent.
Some of them love it. Others of them hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember our first night there. We got there late, so the shop wasn't open. We went out and fished, and we caught nothing. And there was a guy, we're fishing right below his cabin. He came out, and he caught like 4 or 5 fish in the time we're standing there. And we're like, what in the world are you doing? And we couldn't figure out what the guy was doing that we weren't. And then we went to the shop and, had breakfast with you and the guides the next morning. And Matt, it might have been you. One of the guys was saying, well, here's what you got to do. You got to get that fly right on the bottom. We're talking on the bottom, not headed to the bottom, on the bottom. And you guys, when you're nymph fishing, that's what you guys are doing, right? I mean, it's on the bottom, because I noticed they were making a lot of micro adjustments. Every hole, the guy was taking lead on, putting lead off on every hole.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, to answer your question simply, yes, there's something on the bottom. Whether that's the weight or the fly, what we're really, really ultimately looking for is contact.
Mm.
Because of the flow of the water, the difference in flows, right? Because of the riffles and just the hydrology, we're looking for contact to our bugs. And the way that we get that is a lot of the time with weight, putting weight on the bottom of the rig, getting that to the bottom. And the fly, the placement of the fly definitely varies depending on the bug in the hat. Sometimes we'll fish them way up off the bottom, sometimes, a few inches. But yeah, we're definitely trying to get to the bottom, because, that it's when the water's flowing, it's flowing. And, trout, they're lazy. They're trying to sit on the couch and exert the least amount of energy. And that's generally on the bottom, between the crevices, behind rocks. So I hope sorry, I don't know if that was a complete answer, but.
No, that's good. That was just my, one day fishing with you guys experience. But what's sort of like the drop shot rig that you guys are using there? It's a little different than other places.
Yeah. So the drop shot, it was new to me. I came across it from a fellow that used to work at the Hook, a friend of Jonas and mine that we both love. And, we all have our own ways of fishing, the different guides. But we're all accomplishing a similar thing differently. And Mitchell really, 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 really liked the drop shot. Like, that was just his go-to rig. And over my time, my past few years on Penns Creek, I've done a lot of learning and fishing different techniques, and so have the other guides. And what we've really found is that drop shot is universally, it's very user-friendly. and we can pass it from person to person, and it allows us to do a few things, and that's get our rig to the bottom, and then we can teach the angler to get contact to their rig. So no matter whether we're fishing 6 inches or 36 inches, we can get contact to our flies, our rig, right? So we can feel when our rig hits the bottom or a fish eats it.
Yeah.
One of the big things that comes up a lot for us is this idea that's very popular right now about Euro nymphing. And one of the real pros of the drop shot rig or similar rigs, and we use a variety of things, obviously situationally dependent, but you have sighter built into your leader. You can fish it with an indicator. You can fish it without an indicator. It is truly versatile in the ways that you can have the clients present it. And it can also be tapered to their skill level very effectively.
Drop shot is new to people. Like, they've heard of these other techniques, and we say drop shot. Ooh, what is that? Well,
right.
The drop shot to me is the weight below my flies. I've been fishing the same leader for the past 7 years, give or take, and there's, in the course of a day, I'll have a drop shot on. I'll just rip the weight right off, and we'll go to fishing, no weight or weight between the flies. And well, now we're not drop shotting anymore. We're fishing, it's very pigeonholing when we call it drop shotting. What we're really all doing is we're using modern nymphing tactics, which is a combination of those Euro tactics and which is like, weight lead free, so to speak, to drop shotting, which is give me all the lead.
Right.
Okay.
It's a hybrid, because it's a diverse fishery that calls for different tactics every time you take a step, whether that's adding a piece of weight to your drop shot or ripping the balloon off or, present a scenario.
That's what was so interesting to me, how we literally adjusted the rig every time we moved. It was, we're going to fish this hole and we're moving 15 feet down, and he grabbed my line and pulled a couple weights off or put some on, and off we went again.
That's the thing that intimidates people, and part of why it gets its reputation as a masterclass stream, which it deserves, but that you can't just go do the same thing in every hole, not even close. And if the water level starts to change, like Matt was referring to, from 500 CFS to 700 CFS, you've got to change what you're doing or you will not. If you went out with your guide on a Thursday and it rained Thursday night and the water bumped by Friday morning, what you learned the day before will still work some places, but needs those adjustments to be effective.
And there's really only a few adjustments when you break it down and think about it. Like, it's very what you were saying, like user proof, your adjustments are amounts of tippet, weight. That's all you're really varying.
And if you don't mind, I'll focus in on that one word that Matt started with, which is contact. If the angler doesn't know what's happening with their flies, their chances of catching that fish go down dramatically. And the reason why is because a wild trout can breathe in, suck in, and blow out something they think they don't want in their mouth anymore in 0.6 seconds. And so that's not very long. And if you're not in contact, you won't know that happened.
Matt, real quick, just so people understand, what exactly, when you say drop shot, describe the rig at the end of the line there. What have you got? What's the setup there?
You're going to have 2 tags. Well, you're going to have 2 different sections where there's tags coming off, right?
Right. Yep.
Right. From your other sections. So you've got top fly, bottom fly, and you would actually leave that bottom long tag underneath where your bottom fly would go. And we'll just put a little single overhand knot at the bottom of that, so your split shot doesn't slide off of that. I know some people that they won't put a knot there because, well, if they get stuck, then my split shot will slide off. Honestly, people love the drop shot for the theory of, well, I'm only going to lose my weight. That hardly ever happens. I almost always lose my bottom fly or I'll break off higher. Sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah.
But does that answer you better?
Yeah, I was trying to figure, just so people understood, it's like the tag end. You're putting the weight on the tag end. That's what you guys are doing there, and a lot of other things, obviously. Let's shift gears just for a minute here. I'd love to hear your story, Jonas. So how did you end up running a fly shop, owning a fly shop in Coburn, Pennsylvania?
It's been 23 years, and I still don't know how it all happened. So I had been raised with fishing with my dad, and my dad was a fly fisherman. But by the time I got old enough to go with him, he was too busy with his job and had stopped fly fishing. And one of my buddies from college got me started, and that buddy and I decided that after college that we didn't want to have real jobs, and so we were literally in the process of moving to Cleveland, which was his hometown, to open a fly shop there, which is genius because this was before steelhead and Cleveland had essentially no fly fishing at all. And in the process of trying to figure out where we were going to go fishing once we moved to Cleveland, we found the feathered hook for sale on the fledgling internet. This was, 1996. You couldn't even post a picture. You know what I mean? We found an ad that was more similar to a classifieds ad and decided we would go check it out, and we bought it. So I bought him out after about 3 months, and I've been there ever since. It has literally, my business plan upon arrival was to be a trout fund for 3 years, declare bankruptcy and move back to Seattle to be a grown-up. Gratefully, that has not happened. I haven't had to do that.
All right. So Coburn kind of found you then. It's kind of a unique little town, super old, right? But small.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 250 people. It was a railroad town. There was a railroad that ran from Lewisburg to Bellefonte, and the only stop on the whole line was Coburn. And it was literally the reason Coburn came into existence.
Yeah.
Penn's Valley had a large agricultural history as well as some industrial stuff, a lot of logging, things like that. And 1972, Agnes came through and flooded the town dramatically and washed out the rail line for the last time. They decided they didn't need it anymore. And Coburn has been just sort of a quiet mountain town ever since.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Working out for you, right? Got that great little fly shop there.
Things could have turned out a lot worse.
Yeah. All right. So Matt, what's your story? So you're the head guide working for Jonas. How did that come about?
I don't honestly. It's a great.
I know.
It's a great question because I never applied for the job. Like there was never an application process. I never interviewed, but yet here I am somehow.
You got the job.
Long story short, I had to do an internship to get my diploma for my recreation management degree. I did that with a fellow that used to run the trips for the shop. Through that, I ended up actually moving into the bed and breakfast, lived in the bed and breakfast, helped, learned how to do drywall my second day there. Still doing drywall to this day.
Good at it. Good at it now.
Real not bad. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Foreigners, it's just time. So I moved in, started working in the shop after a couple of years. Myself, the younger guides, decided with Jonas to break off and start our own guide service, the Feathered Hook Guide Service. And somebody needed to organize the trips, and it seemed that I said, I'll do it. So that's where it all started.
It's a small town,
Yeah.
Slim pickings.
I love fly fishing. I love the outdoors, and I learned something about experience and providing a memorable experience when I was in college. And I've really tried to bring that to the guiding and what I do and, sharing that with the other guides so that we're all really providing a memorable experience because Penns Creek is something worth remembering. It's something worth sharing and not just keeping to ourselves. And, I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy getting to take new people fishing and people fishing again and just experiencing all the beauty and, glory of the magic place of Penns Creek.
Of everyone who works at the Feathered Hook, Matt is the only one of us using his college degree. I have a degree in anthropology. Tess has a degree in agronomy. Darren has a degree in civil engineering. Aston Boone has a degree in marketing and finance. Matt has a degree in something that literally applies to what we're doing, recreation tourism management.
There you go. How about that? Is that why you were laughing a little while ago, Jonas, when he was telling his story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's great.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I got to be there for Matt's transition from the very end of college into adulthood, you know, and like, okay, what do I do now? And I said, well, why don't you live here then? We have a phone line. You'll be okay.
Yep, phone line that worked. So that was important.
Mm-hmm.
So it evolved into a job. All right. So I got to ask you guys, I found walking into your fly shop was quite an experience. That you have, like, I think all fly shops have a vibe. You know, sometimes in the morning it's that vibe, anticipation, you know, excitement about the day on the water. How would you guys describe the vibe in your shop?
It's a vibe for sure. I was thinking about that before we called in. Irreverent is the word that I came up with.
Yeah.
It is my strongly held opinion that fly fishing takes itself too seriously, and that's ridiculous, and that we're really all just supposed to be going fishing and having a good time. And some people don't like that. Some people come to the feathered hook and they want it to be super serious, and that's just not my nature. I am not a super serious person. And I think the thing is that you can come to the feathered hook and get all the right information and all the details that are working and all the directions to where we think you should go or where you want to go. Okay. But we're going to do it in a ridiculous, joking manner. And if it has to be, I don't care what kind of waders you're wearing, right? If they're bag waders that you bought at Walmart, right, or they're the nicest waders I've ever seen and they're custom made for you, that's all well and good, but our job is to go fishing. Let's just go fishing and have a good time.
You might call out those bag waders on the guy, I notice, when you walk in there.
I might call out either end, right? And,
yeah, exactly.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of the people appreciate is that you don't get to walk in looking like the latest Orvis catalog printing in your Land Rover, Range Rover, whichever one's more expensive, both of them out of my price range, right? And nor do you get judged if you showed up in a truck that its last gasp will be this trip. If you're coming to go fishing and to make memories, we take that just as seriously as you do. But it should be fun.
We're all about it. Yeah. Matt, would you add anything to that?
Final word, it should be fun.
Okay, we'll stay with that. That's great. All right, real quick. You've got a new lodge opening up, you said on Pine Creek, right? When's that going to be open? Was it Pine Creek?
Yeah, so there's 9 Pine Creeks in Pennsylvania. We're on Pine Creek, which is in Coburn, as opposed to Pine Creek, which is an hour and a half from us in the gorge, which is known as Big Pine Creek, but it also has a Little Pine Creek attached to it, so whatever. It is our latest adventure. The feathered hook has been there for 32. I've had it for 23 years. An opportunity came up for us to expand in a way that offered bountiful opportunities to the entire experience. More rooms. It's on 99 acres. It has a mile of private water running through it on a Class A wild trout stream that is absolutely fantastic fishing. And it's very scenic. It's extremely secluded. And our hope is that just allows us to sort of broaden the net we cast in the fly fishing community to help more people have good times.
That sounds great. I can't wait to see it. So let me ask you, what either of you, what was your most memorable fish, I would say?
I know mine. So it's year 2 for me at the feathered hook, and it was late May, and the green drake was coming off, the eastern green drake, which Penn Creek is famed for. Penn Creek has the single largest eastern green drake hatch left in the United States, and the bug is enormous. The female is a size 2, 4 extra long, which for a novice is about 2.5 inches long, and the male is much smaller, about a 10, 2 extra long, which is about an inch and a half. And that hatch, generally speaking, starts in the evening, late afternoon. Not like the eastern green drake is the second largest mayfly in the United States. after only the, what is it called
Hex.
now? The Hex up,
Exogenia?
exactly, up, thank you, up in Michigan. And generally speaking, it starts in the late afternoon, early evening, and goes well into dark. But if the water is muddy, here's a secret. If the water is muddy and it's overcast, the green drake will start much earlier in the day. It was about 2 p.m, and I was standing on the bridge wondering if I was going to go out of business because it had rained so much that the creek was muddy, and most of the people that were there had checked out because of the water conditions. I did not thoroughly understand them at the time enough to help them catch fish. And I closed the store because I was standing on the bridge in Coburn, and the green drakes were pouring off, and I thought of what a waste it was for them to be coming off when the fish can't see them. And the fish started to absolutely destroy them. One of the things we don't think about a lot is that the brown trout, or the trout in the stream, is the apex predator in that stream as far as fish go.
Yeah.
And they have developed a variety of strategies to allow them to eat bugs and other fish and so on. And that lateral line that goes down the side of their body that allows them to feel what's happening matters when it comes to the green drake. The green drake is a big enough bug and makes enough commotion in its hatching process that they were absolutely able to locate those bugs in water, Steve, that was so muddy that if you stuck your hand 1 inch under the water, you couldn't see any of it.
Oh, wow.
And the fish started to crush the bugs. And I went back to the shop and I closed immediately and put a gone fishing sign up in the window. And I walked down around to the bridge and caught an 18 3/4 inch brown trout. But the critical issue was that if you dead drifted your fly, they had no idea it was there. And I watched as those green drakes struggled to get out of their shuck and through that surface film to hatch out. And if they were struggling, they got eaten. And if they were floating motionless, they got through no problem at all. I started to twitch and jiggle my bug. There's a great book, Fishing the Dry Fly as a Living Insect. And I was jiggling my bug. And if I jiggled it, they destroyed it. And that fish taught me more about Penn's Creek, the conditions, the environment, and what a trout was capable of than I had probably learned in my 8 years of fly fishing before that. It was a truly monumental moment for me.
How's an 18-inch brown trout out of Penn Creek fight?
Oh, good, especially in high water. Yeah, real good. Rip you up and down the pool. So, of course, we all know this, that brown trout hate the sun, right? And will spend a lot of their day, pinned to the bottom during a sunny day. Anglers love a sunny day, but the trout don't.
Yeah.
When it is hard overcast and murky, muddy water, those trout act like it's nighttime and therefore are not afraid that a raptor bird is going to come pluck them out of the stream. And they get drunk. It would be the easiest way to. It is last call at the bar, right? It is trout making decisions that they would not normally make when you can still see them, right? And because of that, they were quite surprised to get hooked that day, right? And overly ambitious in their attempts to get free.
All right, one more question, you guys. Funniest moment in your shop?
Matt, did you want to tell your trout story?
No, you'd have a better shop moment, I'm sure.
This is a tricky one because we have a lot of funny moments in the shop.
It's too many. How do you siphon?
My favorite funny story is it's October of probably just, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, and I was working the shift, and no one had been in all day. An old man comes walking in, and when I say old, I mean this guy had met Jesus personally, and he came in and he started asking me what flies were coming off, which is my job. And so I took him over to the fly box and I started showing him what flies were coming off. And he stops me dead, and he looks me in the eye and he says, no. You tell me what one fly I need. And I said, sir, that's a difficult question. And we were talking about it a little bit. I said, well, okay, this would be the fly I would pick if I had to pick one fly. And he said, okay, I'll take 2 of those. And I said to him, as we got to the register, I said, sir, do you mind, for my own learning, why it is that you stopped me while I was going through the hatches that are coming off and told me to pick one fly? And he said, I know how you fly shop people work. And I said, oh, this is about to get good. And I leaned in and I said, okay, how do we work? And he said, here's what you do. You wait until somebody like me who doesn't know the area comes in, and then you sell us all the flies you can't sell. And I said, oh, that's interesting. That's a good idea. And I said to him, this is really the moral of the feathered hook to me. I said to him, sir, even at your age, it serves me better to tell you the truth. On the off chance that you might go out there and actually catch a trout and think to yourself, you know what? That fly shop told me the truth. I'm going to go back there. As opposed to your theory, which is that I just dumped a bunch of product on you I couldn't get rid of. You go out and don't catch any fish and never come back here. You never come back here because you assume that's how we roll. So I wish you the best of luck. Right.
I hope that guy was just having a bad day.
Oh,
I don't. That sounds awful.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point, I mean, it's just the nature of retail. But the point is that although now in hindsight, that may not actually be that funny of a story. The point is why, if we all just go to work to earn a living, it's not very fulfilling. Right. I mean, I don't want to speak for Matt. Right. But for myself, on those days that I go to work and I worry about how much money we make, I generally speaking have a bad day at work. But when I go to work and I can really stay focused on trying to help people have the best vacation day they can have and really enjoy themselves the most they possibly can, I have great days at work. I haven't had to go get another job since I've taken that attitude.
That's a great attitude. All right, so guys, let's walk through the seasons on Penn's Creek. Like, give us a sense of, what are the major hatches, and how are you sort of targeting fish at different times of the year?
So, by its nature, it's a bug factory. This is how I want to phrase it. We have multiple hatches a year that are considered super hatches, like National Geographic. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that. Did the water level just go down with how many bugs just crawled out? Kind of hatches. How do you know you're in a super hatch? Right? It's the question I have to deal with, even though they don't know the question to ask all the time. Right? The answer is, if you look upstream at your friend and say, this is insane, and didn't eat 3 bugs during that comment, you are not in the super hatch.
All right.
Okay? You have not seen the peak of it. If the bugs are crawling behind your sunglasses and trying to impregnate your eyeballs, you are in it. When you get home that evening, if you do not have to wash your rod off because you did not kill hundreds of bugs in your casting stroke, you were not in it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's important to set up. We have good hatches, great hatches, and super hatches. Let's go over a few of them. We're going to start in February with midges and blue wing olives. All right. That's going to go that way through March. We get good dry eye fly activity at that time of the year because fish, as the water starts to warm up, the fish get really hungry because that's how metabolisms work. All right. If you're a cold-blooded creature, we slide into April. We get a really good Hendrickson and Quill Gordon. There's also a red quill mixed in there and something they call the iron frauditor that I think is the Quill Gordon. That starts the first week of April and will continue to about the 3rd, maybe even into the 4th week of April, depends on the year. The Granum caddis is our first super hatch of the year, and that starts, historically speaking, around Tax Day, April 15th. It might be a few days earlier. That is one of those hatches that you think to yourself, maybe this is too much bugs, right? Which is something that Matt can probably speak to more effectively than I can. You can, at time at Penn's Creek, have too many bugs on the water.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes, it's bringing up fish, but why would they eat yours when they have 100,000 other to choose from?
Well, let's talk just for a second about that. Matt, what do you think about that? How do you guide your clients when you've got 100,000 bugs on the water?
You pick one fish at a time.
Oh,
That is,
right.
you just have to key in, because when you've got so many bugs, the fish, like Jonas said before, they just get drunk. And anglers are like, "Ooh, look at this one, look at this one," and they make a cast at one fish, and then their fly doesn't get eaten, and another fish eats 2 feet away, so they cast at that one. And next thing you know, they're just casting at every single fish. But the key is to pick one fish and get the right casting angle. Like, don't just run out to them, think about it for half of a second. Just get the right approach. I like to get just above the fish, because the color of the water allows that generally, and the flow of the water allows you to get close. And if you can get just above them, throw a 15-foot cast in there, tuck a little mend upstream, and you just float the bug to them. And my cadence is, I like to land the fly where I can count 1 or 3, 2, 1, eat it, 1, 2, 3, go again. So that's what I tell my anglers. Cast,
Wow.
Oh, cool.
mend, 3, 2, 1, eat it, 1, 2, 3, go again. 3, 2, 1, eat it, 1, 2, 3, go again. If you're letting your fly go any longer, you're wasting time. If you're landing upstream of that, there's too much water for you. You're going to have to mend again. That's a waste.
Mm.
If you're going any longer, you might catch a fish they love. I mean, Jonas, how many fish have you caught on a skating granum?
Most of them.
Correct. So I'm not going to say, maybe for the granum, that's an exception. I might say,
You're right.
Skated at the end. But for the other bugs, it's 3, 2, 1, eat it, 1, 2, 3, go again. Because I'm targeting one fish. There is one fish in this creek, and until he rises not until he rises, until he eats it, we're not moving on. Because he's going to eat it. I've got a bug in my box, and he's going to eat it.
That's a great tip.
And I don't want to say I've hooked every single fish that we've ever fished to. We get a lot of them to eat. It's persistent.
All right, Matt, what about you? Did you say you set up above the fish, or you're doing a downstream presentation?
Yeah, I just slightly above. The problem is that if you get below the fish, your fly line is on the water immediately, and it's pulling your fly downstream. And when that fish eats, you might hook them once in a while. You'll do okay, right? You'll do okay. But if you're looking for like high percentage, I like to get just slightly upstream of them, depending on the flow, where I can land my fly, throw just a little bit of an upstream end, so that when they come up and eat it, all I'm doing, I'm not, raising my rod to the sky. I'm just lifting. The fish takes out the slack when they eat it.
Okay, so you're actually to the side of the fish, slightly upstream. You're not actually casting downstream to the fish. You're just upstream a little bit from the fish.
Just slightly up. Yeah.
Okay, I got you now. I thought you were saying a downstream.
I'll cast a fish straight downstream of me, though. I have no problem with that. That's a great drift.
Mm-hmm. But you're talking about basically being parallel, but just above it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now I got you.
The next of our super hatches is the March Brown, and that'll start either in the very end of April, the very beginning of May. That will depend on what the winter did. Our March Brown is gigantic. It's about a 10, 2 extra long, maybe even an 8. The spinner is definitely an 8, 2 extra long. The thing about the March Browns that is amazing is that they have longevity in states. We're going to get them from the end of April into the first or maybe even second week of June, depending on the year.
Nice.
It is not a super thick hatch like the Green Drake will be or the Granum was, but it's every day and it's consistent. It is a wonderful bug to fish because it's gigantic, and I can still see it even at my advanced age. It appears to be one of the fish's favorite bugs, in that they will swim across a pool to eat one. The reason we know that there are so many of them hatching throughout the day, even though any of us may only see a few dozen or a few hundred, is because in the evening, the spinners come back and cloud the sky. If you have seen footage of the B-17 bombers over Germany in the war, flying in that beautiful formation, that's what it looks like in the evening. The sky is filled with them. And if you've never seen March Brown spinners, they fly at almost all at exactly the same height. And they cruise back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And as the temperature drops, they drop. And if you're there on a night when the spinners hit the water, it's like someone pushed go on the Cuisinart. It's amazing. But it doesn't happen every night. It's temperature controlled. If it gets cold too fast, they'll go back to the trees. They can live up to 7 days, which gives them something that a lot of mayflies don't have, which is choices, right? Everybody got them, yep, right? And the result of that is that, let's say on average, every 3 days they come down, but when they do, it's incredible, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
That will bleed into the first week of May. We start to get sulfurs. We get a lot of things that we call sulfurs. The entomologists have a lot of names for what we get. We have at least 3 species of sulfur. Greg Hoover, the entomologist at Penn State, says he believes that there are probably a dozen things that could be labeled sulfur in the creek. We will start off with a 12. They will get progressively smaller about once a week. And they're going to become 14s and then 16s and then 18s. And deep into the summer, we get a second brood that's a 20. The sulfurs will be incredibly thick at times. The 14s and the 16s are the thickest of them. And that would be the, what do we want to call it? The mainstay of May. March Browns, sulfurs. Are there blue quills? Are there blue duns? Are there blue wing olives coming off? Absolutely. Are there 4 different kinds of caddis coming off simultaneously? Are there 3 different crane flies coming off? Absolutely. Stone flies of a variety of sizes. My favorite, being a Western kid, is the giant salmon fly. It is Pteronarcis americana versus Pteronarcis dorsata, the famous one from out west. Fish don't know Latin, so that works out great for most people. And then that all leads to the crescendo, which is our eastern green drake, which I told you about before. That is somewhere between 14 and 21 days long. It is unusual in that it moves up the stream based on water temperatures, and it moves about 3 miles a day on average. Outside temperature, water temperature affect the speed of that pretty dramatically. It could bring it to a direct halt. It could burst it up the stream 10 miles and over in one day. And then we slide into our summer hatches, and we get great summer hatches all summer long. We got the light Cahill, the slate drake, which is more commonly known as Isonychia. We get tricos. We get reoccurrence of the sulfur. We get midges. And then the terrestrial fishing gets really good. And then we slide into the fall and do it all over again.
Nice. I was reading an article that about a guy who said he was standing on the shoreline trying to figure out what to tie on, and he saw 6 fish rising, and he's pretty sure each fish was, taking a different bug. And I thought, like, Matt, how do you guide in those kinds of scenarios?
You end your day at 5 p.m.
Go get a beer, right?
It's definitely tough. I remember being out with a couple of the guides like 5 years ago. It was April 30th, and there was 13 different types of bugs in the air. And it's how do you pick? It's a great question. So the answer is you can't pick a bug to fish if you don't have it in your box. And if you're coming to Penn's Creek, you need to do your research and figure out what bugs are going to be hatching, and then you need to prepare appropriately. And that means you either need to tie the flies or you need to buy them. And you need to be prepared. Like if you're coming at the end of April, then you need to have all of the bugs that could be happening from the end of April into the beginning of May, because the one bug that you don't have is the one that they're going to be eating that day.
Of course.
That's true.
That's how it goes. I carry entirely too many flies, but it's because you never know what they're going to want today.
Served you well. All right, Matt, what is the hardest thing for your clients to grasp, typically when they come to Penn's Creek?
Hardest thing to grasp overall.
Maybe it's a technique. Maybe it's just some mindset. I don't know.
I think it's the mindset, honestly. It's just having confidence as an angler, because we're giving them the right tool and the correct setup that we use day to day, and it's proven to work. We know how to make it work, and they just need to have confidence in themselves to follow through with it and set the hook. Believe that there's going to be a fish there. I can't tell you how many times. Actually, this is a good story. I love to fish really fast riffle water. Not just me. We love to fish fast riffle water. And there's a lot of folks who just don't think that brown trout live there, because rainbow trout like fast water, brown trout like deep, slow water. So I'll stop and we'll fish the riffle, and they'll hook a fish, and I'll look at them and I'll say, do you think you're going to hook a fish there? Or in that scenario, they love to say, oh my God, I can't believe we got a brown here. Or we'll be fishing the bucket and I'll change the fly and they'll make an adjustment and we'll catch a fish. And I'll look at them and say, did you think we were going to get one there? And they're like, nope. Just, lack of confidence in themselves, or not believing, like the fish is there. We have the right tools. We have an idea of what we're doing, and you just got to be confident.
That's a great answer. All right. What are your top 5? Well, this is going to be a really hard question because there's so many flies you need to have, but do you have some flies that are sort of confidence, like in terms of patterns? Like what are some of your top patterns, sizes, colors, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So golden stonefly nymph, red Frenchie in a size 14 or 16. Golden stonefly nymph is huge, by the way. It's like an 8. An iron lotus or anything for a blue wing olive nymph, size 16 or 18. A bushy caddis in a size 14. And some kind of, my personal is a cut wing blue quill, size 18. One of our local guys, Todd, ties them up, and I haven't found very many fish that'll say no to that.
Huh. Would you guys be willing to pop me over some pictures of some of those top fly patterns? I'd love to stick those out on the Destination Angler Facebook and Instagram site, if you guys are cool with that.
I'm sure. Yeah, we can get that done. Yep, I'll get that taken care of.
Yeah, that'd be great. Any other flies you like?
Maddie, do yours.
I love a Catskill style March Brown. That's, got my favorite dry fly. Yeah, iron lotus and sexy waltz worm.
Oh, sexy waltz is a good
one. That will cover my bases.
Oh, very good. All right, so one more question. I always like to ask my guests, give us a couple of really great places anglers can go at the end of the day for a cold beer and a great sandwich or something to eat.
We really have 3 choices in our area. There is a pizzeria in town called the OIP, the Original Italian Pizza. You cannot get a beer there, but the sandwiches are good.
You can bring your own beer.
You can bring your own beer. You can go to the Milheim Hotel, which will give you a real feel for what Penns Valley is like. But the burgers are good and the beer is cold. We also have the Elk Creek Cafe, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a local microbrewery, and they have a wonderful chef, and the beer is top-notch indeed. In fact, Brookie Brown.
Yeah, that's a beer style, huh?
That's a beer style, yeah.
Okay, very good. You guys, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was great having you guys. How can people get in touch with you?
They can get to Jonas at thefeatheredhook.com, or they can get us on social media at the Feathered Hook Fly Shop.
Well, we'll put that on our show notes so people can give you guys a call and find out, whether that Penn's Creek is fishing well or not.
Yeah.
And we'll put some pictures of those top flies on our Facebook and Instagram page. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And I wish you two guys extraordinary success in all you're doing and your fishing adventures to follow. You guys can email me with your comments and suggestions at shaig50, that's SHAIGH50 at gmail.com. As always, our music is by Brothers Fountain. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again soon.
Well, I'll go from the land to the shining sea. But I know there's more to life than what the eye can see.